Have you ever noticed that the most powerful person in the room is often the quietest? They don't need to announce their plans. They don't need to prove how successful they are. They don't need everyone to know what they're capable of. They simply move differently. While everyone else is chasing attention, they are building discipline. While others are talking about what they will do, they are quietly doing it. And while people are busy trying to be noticed, they are becoming impossible to ignore. This is one of the most misunderstood ideas in Stoicism. Power does not always look loud. Sometimes power looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like patience. Sometimes it looks like walking away without explaining yourself. The Stoics understood that the person who controls their mind does not need to control the room. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor, yet much of his philosophy was about controlling himself rather than controlling other people. That is the difference between looking powerful and actually becoming powerful. In this video, we are going to explore 7 Stoic habits that can make you stronger, calmer, more disciplined, and more powerful without needing constant attention or approval. These habits won't teach you how to dominate people. They will teach you something far more valuable: how to become so disciplined that your presence speaks before you do. The first habit is simple, but most people struggle with it. Stop announcing everything you are going to do. When you constantly tell people your plans, your goals, and your next move, you give away something valuable: your focus. You start seeking reactions before you've achieved anything. Someone praises you and you feel motivated. Someone doubts you, and suddenly you feel discouraged. Now your progress depends on other people's opinions. The Stoic approach is different. Work quietly. Let your actions create the evidence. You don't need to tell everyone you're becoming stronger. Become stronger. You don't need to announce that you're changing your life. Change it. Because silence protects your focus. And when people underestimate you, don't rush to correct them. Let them. Sometimes being underestimated is an advantage. It gives you room to grow without unnecessary attention. Your job is not to convince people of your potential. Your job is to fulfill it. The first habit is simple, but almost nobody practices it. Learn to be comfortable with silence. Most people are afraid of silence because silence removes distractions. When everything becomes quiet, you are forced to hear your own thoughts. So people keep talking. They keep explaining. They keep posting. They keep telling everyone what they are doing. They want to be noticed. They want to be understood. They want people to know their plans. But Stoicism teaches a different kind of power. You don't need to announce everything you are building. You don't need to explain every decision. And you definitely don't need to prove your worth to people who already decided to underestimate you. Seneca understood the value of using your time and attention carefully. Your attention is limited. Every time you spend it trying to impress someone, you are taking it away from something that could actually improve your life. Think about how often you check whether someone noticed you. Did they like your post? Did they reply? Did they recognize your effort? Did they see your progress? This constant search for recognition makes you dependent on other people's reactions. But powerful people learn to work without applause. They build quietly. They improve quietly. They study quietly. They become stronger quietly. And then one day, the results speak for them. This is why silence can become a form of strength. Silence doesn't mean you are weak. It means you don't feel the need to react to everything. Someone misunderstands you? You don't have to write a paragraph defending yourself. Someone underestimates you? You don't have to prove them wrong immediately. Someone doubts your ability? You don't need to argue. Keep working. Let time reveal the truth. Because when you stop explaining yourself, you create something powerful: mystery, focus, and emotional control. People can only underestimate the version of you they can see. They don't know what you're building when you stop announcing it. So make this your first habit. Speak less about what you plan to do and spend more time actually doing it. Your silence should not be empty. It should be filled with discipline. Because while other people are talking about what they will become, you could already be becoming it. The third Stoic habit is simple. Stop announcing what you're going to do. Most people talk about their plans before they have earned the results. They tell everyone about the new business. They announce the new routine. They talk about getting in shape. They explain how they're going to change their life. And then something strange happens. The moment you receive attention for the plan, your brain can feel like you've already accomplished something. You get praise before the work is done. You get validation before the result exists, and that can quietly reduce your hunger. The Stoics understood the difference between talking about strength and actually becoming strong. They didn't need to convince everyone. They focused on practice. This is why one of the most powerful things you can do is work quietly. Let your actions become your announcement. If you're building something, build it. If you're learning something, learn it. If you're improving yourself, keep improving. You don't need to tell everyone about every step, because when you constantly explain yourself, you give other people a front row seat to your unfinished work. Now they can judge it, question it, doubt it. And sometimes, without realizing it, you start changing your direction just to prove them wrong. That is another form of weakness. Powerful people don't need to win every conversation. They need to win the battle against their own distractions. So make a decision. Talk less about what you're going to become. Spend more time becoming it. Let people underestimate you. Let them think you're doing nothing. Let them wonder why you're so quiet. Because while they are watching your words, you can be building your results. And eventually, your results will speak louder than anything you could have said. The fourth Stoic habit is even more important. Learn to stay calm when people try to provoke you. Anyone can look powerful when everything is going their way. The real test comes when someone insults you, challenges you, disrespects you, or deliberately tries to get a reaction. Your first instinct may be to respond immediately, but that's exactly what they want, because the person who controls your reaction has influence over you. A Stoic doesn't give that power away so easily. Instead, pause, take a breath. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Will responding improve the situation? Am I reacting because it's necessary or because my ego was triggered? That small pause can completely change the outcome. You don't have to answer every insult. You don't have to defend yourself against every opinion. You don't have to prove that you're stronger. Sometimes your silence is not weakness. It is discipline. And when you stop reacting to every provocation, people begin to realize something. They cannot easily move you. That is quiet power. Not being loud, not intimidating people, not demanding respect. Just becoming so emotionally controlled that other people's behavior no longer decides who you become. They cannot easily move you. That is quiet power. Not being loud, not intimidating people, not demanding respect. Just becoming so emotionally controlled that other people's behavior no longer decides who you become. The fourth habit is simple, but incredibly powerful. Stop explaining yourself to everyone. Powerful people do not feel the need to defend every decision they make. They understand that not everyone deserves an explanation. Think about how often you explain yourself when someone questions you. Why you said no, why you changed, why you walked away, why you stopped replying, why you chose a different path. And sometimes you explain so much because you are secretly hoping the other person will approve of your decision. But here's the Stoic lesson. You don't need permission to live according to your values. Seneca understood that your life becomes lighter when you stop worrying about how everyone interprets you. Some people will misunderstand you. Let them. Some will judge you. Let them. Some will create their own story about you. Let them. Your responsibility is not to control their opinion. Your responsibility is to control your character. This doesn't mean becoming arrogant or refusing to listen. It means knowing when an explanation is useful and when it is simply wasted energy. If someone genuinely wants to understand you, explain calmly. But if someone has already decided to misunderstand you, explaining more will rarely change anything. In fact, excessive explaining can make you look uncertain about your own decisions. Imagine saying, "No, I can't," and then spending 5 minutes explaining why you have already said no. Everything after that may simply be an attempt to make the other person comfortable with your boundary. You don't have to do that. A calm person can say, "I understand, but my decision stands." That's it. No anger, no drama, no need to prove anything. This is what silent power looks like. You stop trying to win every conversation. You stop trying to convince everyone that you're a good person. You stop chasing approval, and suddenly you have more mental energy for the things that actually matter. Your goals, your health, your family, your work, your character, your future. Remember, the more you explain yourself to people who don't respect you, the more power you give them over your peace. Sometimes silence isn't weakness. Sometimes silence is confidence. You know who you are. You know why you made the decision. And you don't need an audience to validate it. That is the fourth habit. Know your reasons. Then stop explaining. The fifth Stoic habit is simple but incredibly powerful. Stop explaining yourself to people who have already decided to misunderstand you. This is one of the hardest things to learn. When someone judges you unfairly, your first instinct is to defend yourself. You want them to understand your intentions. You want them to know the truth. So you explain. Then you explain again. And sometimes you spend more energy proving yourself than actually living your life. But powerful people understand something different. Not every misunderstanding deserves an explanation. Not every accusation deserves a response. And not every opinion deserves your attention. The Stoics understood that your reputation is partly outside your control. People will see you through their own beliefs. Some will appreciate you. Some will criticize you. Some will misunderstand you completely. You cannot control any of that, but you can control your character. You can control how you behave when nobody is watching. You can control whether your actions match your values, and that is enough. Think about how much power you give someone when you desperately need them to understand you. They make an accusation, and you immediately react. They question your decision, and you start defending it. They don't approve, and suddenly you doubt yourself. This is how people lose their inner strength. They become dependent on external validation. But silence can sometimes be stronger than an explanation. When you know who you are, you don't need to convince everyone. You let your actions speak. You let consistency speak. You let time reveal the truth. This doesn't mean you should never communicate. Sometimes an explanation is necessary, but there is a difference between communicating clearly and desperately, trying to win someone's approval. One comes from confidence. The other comes from insecurity. The Stoic chooses the first. So the next time someone misunderstands you, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, do I actually need to explain this? Will explaining change anything? Or am I simply trying to make someone approve of me? If the answer is approval, stay silent. Walk away. Keep building. Because the quieter you become about proving yourself, the more powerful your actions become. You don't need to announce your growth. You don't need to tell everyone you're disciplined. You don't need to convince people that you're strong. Live it. Let your behavior become the evidence. That is the power of silence. The sixth Stoic habit is learning to become comfortable with being underestimated. This is one of the most powerful forms of silent strength. Most people want to be seen. They want people to know how hard they work. They want recognition for their progress. They want others to understand what they are capable of. But the moment you stop needing to prove yourself, something changes. You become dangerous in a different way. You become focused. You stop announcing your plans. You stop explaining every move. You stop trying to convince people that you are capable. You simply work. The Stoics understood that reputation is outside your control. People may misunderstand you. They may underestimate you. They may even assume you are doing nothing. But none of that changes what you are actually building. Think about a seed beneath the ground. For weeks, nothing appears to be happening. But underneath the surface, roots are growing. That is how your personal growth should look. Quiet on the outside, powerful underneath. Seneca understood the importance of focusing on your own development rather than constantly seeking approval from others. When you stop performing for an audience, you can finally focus on becoming better. This doesn't mean hiding your achievements. It means you don't need applause to continue. You don't need someone to say, "You're doing well." You already know why you started. And that creates a completely different kind of confidence. A person who needs recognition becomes dependent on attention. A person who works in silence becomes dependent on discipline. And discipline is far more powerful. So if people underestimate you, Don't rush to correct them. Let them. If someone thinks you cannot do it, let them think that. If someone doesn't believe in your potential, you don't need to spend your energy changing their mind. Use that energy to improve yourself, because one day, your results will speak louder than your explanations ever could. And when that day comes, you won't need to say, "I told you so." You will simply keep moving. That is the sixth habit. Become comfortable being underestimated. Work quietly, improve privately. Let your actions create the evidence, because real power doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes the strongest person in the room is the one nobody is paying attention to. And while everyone else is trying to be noticed, they are becoming impossible to ignore. The final habit is this: stop trying to prove how powerful you are. Real power does not need an announcement. You don't need to tell everyone how disciplined you are. You don't need to show everyone how much you've changed. And you don't need to convince people that you are strong. Let your actions speak. The person who is constantly trying to prove themselves is still looking for approval. But the person who is comfortable moving in silence has already found something more valuable: self-respect. This is what Stoicism teaches us. Build yourself quietly. Work when nobody is watching. Stay disciplined when nobody is praising you. Keep your promises to yourself when nobody will ever know if you broke them. Because your character is built in the moments nobody sees. And eventually people notice, not because you demanded their attention, but because your results become impossible to ignore. So, if you want to become powerful in silence, remember these 7 habits. Control your reactions. Speak less and observe more. Keep your plans private. Stop chasing approval. Protect your time and energy. Stay disciplined when motivation disappears. And let your actions speak louder than your words. You don't need to become cold. You don't need to isolate yourself. You don't need to prove that you're better than anyone. Simply become better than the person you were yesterday. That is real Stoic strength. And one day, the same people who underestimated you may look at your life and wonder when everything changed. They won't see the late nights. They won't see the discipline. They won't see the battles you fought inside your own mind. They will only see the result. And that's okay, because you were never building yourself for their approval. You were building yourself for you. So from today, stop announcing your next move. Stop explaining every decision. Stop chasing recognition. Work quietly, think clearly, stay disciplined, and let time reveal what you have become. If this video gave you a new perspective, comment, "I move in silence." And subscribe to the Stoic Edge for more Stoic wisdom, self-discipline, emotional control, and mental strength. Remember, the loudest person is not always the strongest. Sometimes the most powerful person in the room is the one who says nothing, keeps improving, and lets their results speak. Master your mind, move in silence, become undeniable.